This podcast sheds light on the incredible stories of those who served and are now navigating civilian life. Join me as we explore the challenges, triumphs, and unique perspectives of transitioning veterans. From career shifts to mental health, we cover everything. Subscribe now and amplify the voices of our heroes. Amplify Veterans, where every story matters. It's another great day to Amplify Veterans, here with Dr. Caroline Wilkerson. She spent 8 years in the Navy, and she's here today to talk about that time, talk about what she did after the Navy, what she's doing now, and some nuggets of advice along the way. So, Caroline, if you could do a better job of introducing yourself, please.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if I could do better than that, Nick.
I think you're going to crush this.
Yeah, so I joined the Navy a little late. I joined when I was 22. I was always a really smart kid, but a kind of wild. And so I joined the military because I don't believe you. Not only did I want to have like a raison d'etre, right? Like a reason to be, something worth living and dying for, right? Like, and I
Is
felt
that French?
like the military.
Was that French? What was that language?
Oh, raison d'etre. Yeah, it's French.
That's cool.
We use it in English all the time because, you see it in literature and stuff like that. No?
I need to read more. That's my problem.
Yeah, I get accused pretty frequently of like using esoteric language and things like that, but I'm just a nerd.
That's good stuff.
Your typical CTI.
CTI in the Navy.
Yes.
Crypto.
Yeah.
That's all I know. That's all I know about it. Just means crypto. But yeah, tell us what you...
Technician interpretive. Yeah. So there's like a couple different kinds of CTs. There's like CTNs that work on networks. Those are your legal hackers. You've got CTAs, which are admin people with a security clearance, your yeoman with a security clearance. What else? There's your SIGINT folks. I don't even remember what their rate was now. CT something.
But a lot of different types of rates that were connected to that program.
Correct. Yeah.
Did you have to go to Monterey?
Language geek. So
yeah. Was that in Monterey, California?
It was.
Yeah.
The Desperate Love Institute, also known as the Defense Language Institute. Yeah. Where nerds come to find each other.
Is that really a thing? Is that like wow?
So many people get married at DLI. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Is that for just did you get married from there?
Well, I didn't get married there, but I did marry somebody I met there. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And
yeah, it worked out. It worked out really well.
I think there's some I don't know if you're being serious about that, but
no, he's a wonderful, wonderful man. Like he was a great guy. It's just, we were young and like, we were both active duty military, stationed in different places and, just trying to cling to something that maybe didn't need to be clung to for a while. So
that happens to so many people in the military. So that's okay. That's good that you recognize that. And was that school just for Navy or was that for other branches too?
No, it was joint service. So it was run by the Army. It's on the Presidio of Monterey, like one of the most beautiful locations you could ever be. Like you're hanging out at the PX where they like let us drink on this patio and stuff like that. And you see this gorgeous fog rolling in over the trees and it just like dumps down around you and you look out and you can see Monterey Bay. Wow. I mean, Soldier Field there where I got to re-enlist, it's just beautiful. You can hear the seals barking in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
It's cool. It's a cool place.
Now I understand why so many couples are made there. It sounds like a very
romantic
place.
You've got beaches and mountains and hills and gorgeous places within a couple hours drive to go visit. And language school's really intense too, because you're in school for 6, 7 hours a day, and then you have 2 to 4 hours of homework a night. I mean, you're eating, sleeping, breathing this language, right? You start dreaming in the language after a little while, or dreaming of
Whoa.
class anyway.
Oh my gosh.
And you have to, still do all your regular military stuff and take care of your family. So it's just this really super intense experience on a lot of levels. So,
Wow. And what languages did you work on?
Chinese and Russian.
Wow. That's cool. That's very cool. And so are you fluent in those languages, or you just need to be good enough to be dangerous enough
Not
to interpret?
anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore. Because if you don't use it, you lose it, right? I
Sure.
still, understand and can speak Chinese decently. Russian, not as much. But if I watch a movie that has a lot of Russian in it, I start picking it back up pretty quickly. If I'm around some friends that are Russian speakers, like a couple weeks ago, I was at a huge bonfire party with a guy from Latvia and a guy from Poland, and they both spoke Russian, so we all spoke Russian together, and
Oh, wow.
it was fun. Yeah.
That's got to be fun. It's always cool to be able to use, like, if somebody had a trumpet and I felt like playing it, I would just go to it, and I haven't played since I was in like ninth grade, and
Yeah.
I'd make some sounds with it, but
Well, that's your next podcast right there.
oh, it's going to be such a bad podcast. But that's the closest thing I can get to being able to start doing something I haven't done in a while. So, so what can you talk about? I know you can't say much, but what can you talk about from what you did in the military?
Um, I can talk about what I did as a civilian.
Yeah, that
like
means something. She
like in my
can't go there.
civilian life during the military, right? Like,
Not much that
oh
you can
yeah,
say,
we went hiking to a lot of waterfalls in Hawaii, and
which is fun.
no, it and being able, like, telling you that I can't tell you what I did is actually makes it sound way more exciting than it really was.
Yeah,
Like, the majority of what we did was pretty mundane and boring, but like interspersed with a lot of um excitement. So
it's like that with the
yeah.
subs too. The submarine service, they call it the silent service. You don't know much about it. You can't really say where you went or what you were doing when you were there. So I totally
We
get
knew
that.
where you were.
You knew where I was. Yeah, that's all. You knew where I was. The
Yeah.
rest of the world doesn't know where I was, hopefully. But that's, yeah, because you were definitely a
We
part
were
of that
I can
operation.
tell you this. We were keeping you safe.
I
That's what we
I
were
believe
doing.
that. I
We
believe
were we
that.
were
Listening.
I don't know, maybe.
Do they know? Do they know? Yeah. But
No,
that's as far as.
everybody knows. That's the kind of the fun thing about the game, is like everybody knows everybody else is watching. It's more like the systems that you use that are more secret even than anything else, because the way in which you gather those things, if that's exposed, then people can come up with countermeasures to block you from gaining things that way. And then there's some stuff that people know you listen to and they just don't care,
It's like
because
just,
they don't think you're going to get enough that it
yeah,
matters. So, yeah.
or redirect you, go
Mhm.
somewhere else. Look over here. We're
Yeah.
trying to make you look over here. It reminds me of football. We're not going to throw it right. We're not going to throw it right.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is
Yeah.
like the classic misdirection, and
Yeah.
trying to stay one step ahead of your competitor, and like watching all their old games, right, from the season, and looking at their playbook and their strategy and saying, okay, we know they have these plays. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the
We're
same game.
That's without teetering into the stuff that we can't talk about.
Yeah.
Why did you get out of that? That sounds like such a fun job to do for 30 years.
Um, Honestly, I felt like my upward mobility and my growth was limited by the rigid billet system that they had in the Navy when you're enlisted. It's like you're a body and there's a job opening, right? And you get billeted to that job no matter what your other skills are and different things that you can do and you have to offer. Like, we had a girl who was a phenomenal linguist, but she was an even better hacker. And she wanted to go work with the CTNs, but they wouldn't reassign her because it's like, needs of the Navy, this is your billet. And so in that way, one of my collateral duties was a career counselor. And I saw a lot of people getting really frustrated and depressed and upset because, especially in the CT community, you have this incredible pool of really super intelligent, multi-talented people. And they need to be stimulated and they need to be engaged and feel valued. And so that was one of the main reasons that I got out, was because I just didn't think I was ever going to fully actualize my potential within that rigid system. And I loved my time I spent there, but I felt like I'd gotten what I needed to out of it, and it was time to challenge myself in a different way.
Yeah. Very cool. That makes sense. I feel a lot of those same feelings about that. I got out of the military. I couldn't switch jobs from being on a submarine to going into the legal world. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get out of the military then. They approved a package for me to go be a legalman, and then they denied it. They said, you got to stay on the submarine. So that was not fun. I got out. And just like you said, it's very difficult to fully actualize that potential and realize that, so that you can be who you're designed to be in the end. So
Right.
so
I
how
mean,
did that process go for you, and how has it been going for you since getting out?
it was so rough at first, right? Like, I have a great story if you let me, if you'll indulge me.
Go.
So I'm so I decided to go into Chinese medicine school after I got out of the Navy. I wanted to become a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine and help other veterans heal, physically, emotionally, all of that stuff. And I knew that the journey was going to also help heal me. So I'm sitting there in class my first semester, and it's maybe like halfway through the semester, and there's this kid sitting next to, he's not really, he's a man, right? But a young man, he's in his early 20s, sitting next to me, and he's like nodding off. I wanted to like just take my book and drop it on the desk right next to him and be like, stand up in the back. You're like, and it was just like, my brain couldn't wrap around the fact that like, you're paying to be here. This person in front of you has these years of experience and wisdom and is being kind enough. I mean, yeah, sure, they're getting paid, but a teacher's salary at these Chinese medicine schools isn't great, right? And they're you're just disrespecting them. You're disrespecting the class. Like, why even come if you're just gonna nap? Don't be here. And so like, all these little things were the pebbles in my shoes. I transitioned into civilian life, just like nails on a chalkboard. And I'm like a malfunctioning robot out here with these people, just trying to wrap my brain around it.
Trying to
But
reprogram into the way of the civilian.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Not saying every
so
civilian falls asleep in class, but it hurts a
correct.
veteran who just got out to see that.
Yes, yes. And like people walking in late or just like leaving in the middle of the class to go to the bathroom. I was like, who does
Where are
that?
we? Where are we?
You gotta hold it. You just, stand up in the
Down the
back.
leg. Just let it go.
Yeah, yeah. So that just like that's a microcosm of all the different little things that I experienced where I had to um reevaluate a lot of my like standards and my just my beliefs and preconceived ideas about people and how things should go. um and doing that in Chinese medicine school, I think, was really helpful for me personally, because so much of what we do is related to physical and mental health. And so I was able to get the support of acupuncture from my teachers and my peers, and these really like beautiful, wise, sage like instructors who just, they saw what I was going through without judgment, and like, oh, Caroline, it will be okay,
And
like,
so that was so it's acupuncture, and what else makes up Chinese medicine?
so it's a full medical system, right? Acupuncture is one of the tools that we use. In Asia, they're also like it's Tui Na, which is massage, but it's also combined with like adjustments. So you can actually do manipulations there. In the United States, that's owned by chiropractors and to some level physical therapists as well, depending on your state licensure. So we're not allowed to do any manipulations in the United States. But you've got acupuncture, which is the insertion of the needles. And you can add electrostim to that if you want. Cupping, gua sha. I don't. If you saw like 2008 Olympics, Michael Phelps with all the circular bruises,
Oh,
that's
is it the
that's from
cupping?
cupping. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I see some
and
crazy cupping videos on Reels lately. I gotta stop
yeah.
watching Reels. It's just people are just going nuts. But
Well, after that, there was like this huge boom of people doing cupping without any formal training. If you had any kind of license whatsoever, all these little cupping shops were popping up all over
that's
the
kind of what it
place.
seems like. It doesn't seem like they know what they're doing. It seems very dangerous.
No, no. And there's, 5,000 years of tradition behind it. And it's not just a Chinese medicine thing. A lot of folks from the East Asian cultures grew up doing cupping, especially when people like caught cold or had, musculoskeletal pain and things like that. So it's a
Interesting. I
cross-cultural
gotta
traditional recipe, remedy.
I gotta take a pause from that real quick though. So I should have asked you this in the beginning, but what made you go into Russian and Chinese when you were in the military? Why were those the languages that you picked?
Well, I wanted Chinese originally because I was studying Chinese in college. And like, since I was a young girl, I was obsessed with, Chinese language and culture and philosophy. Like in high school, my mom had this beautiful, large, illustrated translation of the Tao Te Ching. And I would read Lao Tzu's wisdom. Um, and I was just always really fascinated with Chinese, just like China's history and just East Asia in general. So and then also with the direction that the world economy was going, I figured if I knew Chinese, that could give me an advantage in just about any field that I went into.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
then I got to the Navy and they're like, you know what? Russian. And I was like, no, that's not what I wanted.
They
Like,
always know what you need more than you do. Yeah.
right.
So
And in a way they did, because I absolutely loved my teachers and learning Russian and the Russian language. And I'm so grateful that I learned it. And then I had the opportunity a few years later to go back to DLI again and learn Chinese. So it all worked out.
oh yeah. That's so cool. So that makes sense. So you like the culture, you like the history, you've always been drawn to it. So that's what pushed you into it when you were in the military, and then getting out. Was that also part of why you pursued the Chinese medicine? Was that the same reason?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, not completely. So when I first got out, like, I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Nobody does. Still don't.
So, like for the first time in 8 years, I had all this agency and choice that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
So, I went on unemployment for a couple months in Hawaii and put my daughter in daycare every day and went to the beach and read and journaled and soul searched. I used StrengthsFinder 2.0 and a couple of other books to um, help me figure out, what I wanted my life to look like. Because it's one thing to study something you're interested in, right? That's not necessarily going to take you to where you want to be.
Right.
And I knew I didn't want to sit behind a desk all day because I'd lose my mind. I knew I didn't want to work in corporate America. We'll circle back to that later.
Yeah.
Uh, and that I wanted to make the world a better place in some way, shape, or form. And then as I kind of dug deeper into that, then that's how I got to Chinese medicine.
I see. And then you finally got to that point where we're going back to what you were talking about, where the instructors were were helping you get through this.
Yeah, absolutely. The school that I went to is a yellow ribbon school, so they took GI Bill and voc rehab benefits, and there were quite a few veterans actually in the program with me. Another Navy guy who's also a linguist, he was a Farsi linguist,
Oh, cool.
and then an Army guy, David. So they'd seen like at least maybe one veteran a year probably entering into the program, and they've seen us all over the years going through that like deprogramming that you have to
Yeah.
go through and adjustment. And really it's about like in Chinese, like there's this idea in Taoism of wu wei, like to do nothing. So you do everything by doing nothing. So like not reacting, just kind of letting things go, being like water, where you just flow with your environment. You find the path of least resistance. You hit a rock, the water doesn't try to break through the rock. It just
Right.
meanders around it. Right.
Yeah. Bruce Lee said that.
Yeah.
He probably took it from that, but yeah, he certainly echoed it.
And so that's like, figuring out, like knowing those things rationally and then putting them into practice are two different things, right? And so they were there to support me with the physical medicine of acupuncture, but also the life coaching and giving encouragement when needed and humbling the crap out of you when you needed it too. So that was good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what's an example of being humbled in the school there?
I'm trying to think of a specific one. Sometimes you don't remember the things people said or they did. You just remember how they made you feel.
You just remember the feeling, yeah. Like you're like, whoa, I was up here, now I'm here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get you there. Okay,
Yeah.
wow. So how did that experience and education, how did that move you forward into the world then from that point?
So after I graduated, it was a little rocky, right? Because here you are, you've been in school for 4 to 5 years, and then you have to go start a business or work for somebody else after you pass your board exams. So I ended up moving from San Jose, California, where I went to school, back home to Chicago, be close to my parents, and to have a little bit of extra support with my daughter while I got my business off the ground. So I went into private practice as an independent contractor, worked for a couple of like existing fairly successful practices to get more experience, and then started branching off on my own. My ultimate goal was to, treat veterans, not exclusively necessarily, but to have that be the primary focus of my business. That I understand what you're going through, I can help you through it, and it's just a safe place, right, for folks to try something that seems a little woo woo and a little weird to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then this opportunity
Yeah,
came
it's
up.
different. It's not the typical, like, I mean, you how much total school did you have? You had 5 years during the program,
Hmm.
and then you had. Did you have anything before that? Was this all an undergrad, or was this a like a master's program?
No, it was, so you start off originally. So while I was in school, everything changed. It used to be a 4-year math.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the way the degree or the 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 Chinese medicine program, how that's designed, the total amount of school, what kind of degree you end up with to become a doctor.
Yeah, so the program has changed a little bit. It changed while I was in school. So some people come in with just an associate's degree. Some people come in with a bachelor's degree. Unfortunately, there's no like strong national regulation. It varies a lot from state to state. I mean, there's a national certifying board for the exams in order to get your licensure, but there's not too much standardization in terms of the schools. So the school that I went to, because it's licensed to train folks to be primary care providers in California, was 4 years. It covered acupuncture and herbs and Western medicine. And so most folks, they'll get like a 2-year master's degree in just acupuncture, and they just study acupuncture and they don't know herbs, and they don't have a strong background in Western medicine. And that varies from state to state, but there's quite a few really great schools across the country, mostly in California, Oregon, and Washington State. Some in, Chicago and the Northeast as well that are really good. So I did 4 years, and then they came out with a doctoral bridge program. And so then I got my professional doctorate. Before that, you'd have to get your master's degree and then do a PhD program. And I didn't want an academic doctorate. I wanted a professional doctorate, something that was much more practical. And so I focused primarily on integrative medicine for my doctoral program. I really wanted to be able to bridge that gap between East and West and be able to work in a hospital setting or in an integrative care center and feel comfortable and confident. So I went to Pacific College of Health Sciences. So
Very cool.
Finished my
Okay.
doctorate there.
And then you started the business, then eventually made some other moves. Walk me through some of those.
Yeah. So an opportunity became available at Jesse Brown VA Medical Center in Chicago for an acupuncturist. And it was a new thing across the country because we just recently received title codes from the US government. So we were actually an official coded profession, which was huge for us.
Yeah.
And so then they were able to hire acupuncturists in the federal government, not as, some weird, strange coding that they came up with as a workaround, right? Yeah, it was really great. And I started there and I created the program from scratch at Jesse Brown and was like, I really felt when I got my PIV card, like I was the luckiest person on the planet. Like I had worked all these years for this and I've been, trying to get things going in private practice. Being an entrepreneur is not easy, especially when you have something that is a pretty niche market
It's hard.
like that and doesn't have a wide appeal and you don't take insurance and things. So it was, I walked around there with the biggest smile on my face for so long because I'm like, here I am. I'm working at the VA. I'm helping veterans. I'm in an integrative care setting. I'm advancing my profession. And every day I get to show up and meet these awesome folks that were all so different and had different stories and different things going on. And I got to make them feel heard and seen and cared about and ultimately help mitigate their issues. And that, nothing filled my soul and my cup more than that time when I worked there clinically. And I got to grow the program and hire more acupuncturists. And it was just such a beautiful, beautiful thing. But then I just became really passionate about trying to improve the patient experience, whether it was with clerical staff or clinical staff, because I get a lot of patients that by the time they got to my office, they were so frustrated by so many different situations that the first part of the encounter was just me calming them down and getting them into a space where they were ready to receive treatment. So I joined this service excellence committee that our then director at Jesse Brown had set up, and to dig in and come up with a strategic plan on how we could improve the patient experience at Jesse Brown. And I dove so deep into that. I was pulling up resources from, the internet, from within the VA. They have a national program office, VAPX, that's full of amazing resources. And I just basically spent 2-3 hours a day doing research, analyzing things, talking to frontline staff, talking to supervisors, just gathering as much intel as I could to figure out where are pain points, what are our barriers to success, and then what are possible solutions to mitigate those things, and then what order do we need to do these things. And I worked with a group of people on that. Not to toot my own horn, but I basically did most of the work. You know how those group projects go sometimes.
Yeah. I just got through one of those with school, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. The dreaded group project, especially in the master's program. Whew.
Get those things out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it ultimately led to me becoming the Veterans Experience Officer at Jesse Brown. And so I left clinical work for administrative work because I just become so passionate about this. And it's something that I'm sure almost every veteran watching this would agree, is that there's a lot of room for improvement in terms of the patient's experience at a lot of VAs. Some places do a phenomenal job. In others, there's a lot of opportunity for growth. So
I agree. I went to the Cleveland VA for a while, and now I'm going to the Chicago VA. And
are you at Hines or Jesse Brown?
I'm at Hines. I miss the Louis Stokes VA in Cleveland. It was a good one.
Yeah, they do a great job there. And but each, if you've been to one VA, you've been to one VA, right? They're all so different.
Just one.
Oh, I could also say that I don't work at the VA anymore, and any of my opinions or whatever are not reflective of the VA's, stance on anything. And
right. That's right. That's no longer a thing.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. And what came next? What came after the VA?
So while I was in my position as Veterans Experience Officer and trying to create a program out of nothing, then I ran across this company, PatientPoint, and they provide patient education and digital communication systems to both private sector and government hospital facilities. And it's geared towards outpatient education. And one of the things when I was working clinically was I realized a lot of my patients were making mistakes in terms of their treatment compliance, because they didn't understand their underlying condition or the importance of their medications, the consequences of not using their glaucoma drops daily or whatever it may be, right? Because they didn't have a deeper level understanding of their health and their condition and the effects of their medication to help prevent really serious illness. So I spent a lot of time educating my patients, and I found this company that did such a great job of taking a holistic approach to allopathic care. So they're looking at diet and lifestyle in addition to the traditional medicine or surgery approach. So from a VA perspective, that's a whole health approach. So really weaving that into the way that you educate and deliver care. And I'm every VA needs this. Okay, so the way that I came to PatientPoint, I saw this product. I thought it was amazing. And I knew that we needed it at Jesse Brown. Black screens everywhere. Reached out to the company, met a wonderful woman named Debbie Olson. Had some great conversations with her. And got the process started there. Up until this point as Veterans Experience Officer, I've been working 10, 11, sometimes 12-hour days regularly for over a year and a half, and I was super burnt out. I'm a single mom. At the time had a junior high daughter at home, who coming out of COVID was really struggling with school anxiety and different things. And I needed to make a shift, right? Like I felt like I was rolling a boulder uphill in my job because there was just such a huge cultural shift in such a large organization that had to happen in order to improve patient experience. And I wanted to fix it all at once, and you can't do that, and change is slow. And so I was just totally burnt out, and my daughter was suffering because I wasn't as present for her as I needed to be. And Debbie let me know that they had positions available at her place, so I learned a little bit more about what that would entail and made the shift so that I could just have a better work-life balance, way less stress, be more present for my kid, show her that she is the most important thing in my world, not my job. And so that was a big letting go again for me, right? Because my whole dream, right, for so many years had just been around helping other veterans heal. So I had to take a few steps back from the way in which I was doing that. So now I get to touch a lot more veterans through VAs all across the country, providing them with world-class, award-winning patient health education that will hopefully make their lives better and save a few lives. Knowing the signs and symptoms of serious illnesses, increasing treatment compliance, that makes the world of difference in people's lives. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool that you were able to figure that out, reflect on what you needed most in your life. You found this awesome opportunity with PatientPoint to be able to give you that space and that balance so that you can be there for your daughter and still be able to help veterans. And now you've got a really cool mission where you're helping to spread that information across VAs all over the place.
yeah,
And it's so impactful to be able to help veterans that way.
it
And
is. It
yeah,
really is. And I get to travel some for my job. I get to go visit different VAs all over, visits 10, 12, 15, and 23, and just see how different they are. Meet the staff, get to talk to patients when I'm, making my rounds at the facilities. And it gives me that boost that I need,
yeah,
to really truly feel connected to everybody again
yeah.
and keep doing what I do. So,
There's so
uh,
much power to be networking and connected with other veterans. Just to see them and have conversations with them every day is huge. It keeps
yeah.
it gives me energy. It obviously gives you a ton of energy. Can you just describe, if you're allowed to, an example of something that you would see on a patient point screen at the VA and where it would be
Yeah,
located?
absolutely. So you might be sitting there and then you'll see a message come up that, knowing the signs and symptoms of stroke, right? And all of our messaging has a formula to it. So it gives you information first about whatever the disease or condition or, situation could be, to let you know why this is important. Why does this matter? Right. And then, like, let's say it was colonoscopy screenings or something like that. When should you get those? Right. And then it maybe addresses an emotional component in terms of like anxieties or fears around knowing, or being diagnosed with something, and then a call to action. So we want every single patient after they see one of our messages to feel more comfortable like mitigate their anxieties around things and be empowered to take charge of their health, whether it's discussing something with their doctor or taking specific actions over which they have agency, like going for walks or getting better quality sleep, making better diet and lifestyle choices. And so those kinds of health related messages you'll see. We have a team of over 65 content creators that will generate content for the hospitals that's unique and specific to them. So observance messages like Happy Veterans Day, Happy Holidays, just basic things like that, in addition to advertising additional services. Like a lot of folks don't know all of the different things that you can get through the VA available to you, like acupuncture and chiropractic and virtual reality meditations and just all kinds of really, really cool stuff. The VA's even got psychedelic assisted therapy available now, which is really helping a lot of folks get over a multitude of mental health conditions. So getting the word out there, engaging folks in higher level services and the health related information, events that are up and coming, getting folks connected on a social level with each other, or soon to be moms or new moms knowing that there's a drive-through baby shower coming up and you can just pull up and pick out from a multitude of different things that were donated, like, oh yeah, I need a car seat or I need a changing table, whatever it might be.
Wow. So it's like is it a contract with PatientPoint, or because it sounds like obviously the VA, they're working on their operation, they've got their mission, but it sounds like PatientPoint is really good at the content creation and distribution. So
Yeah,
that's what they're
we
leaning
consider
on you
ourselves
for.
partners with the VA. And
Yeah.
So in terms of your question, it's not a purchase, it is a contract because we
Yeah.
provide full service support. So we lease the screens, we do the installation, which takes the burden off of their engineering departments to do that. And we maintain, repair, replace. If we can remote in, we will. We can have a tech out there in, 48 hours to a week, depending on how remote the location is for that VA. And so for the life of the contract, we take care of the health of the equipment and we provide continual support. All of our screens are customizable down to the screen. So when you're in women's health, you're going to see different messaging that you will in GI, and everything's going to be targeted to that unique audience, right? And we have an account manager that gets all that stuff scheduled for you. She relays the messages back to our creative team to get content generated. So when you're when you partner with us as a VA or DoD facility, you're really not alone. And we continually evolve and grow and change how we do business to meet our customers' needs. So
yeah,
I feel really, really good about working for this company. I wouldn't work somewhere and put my reputation on the line for something I didn't truly believe in.
yeah. Is this DoD VA? Is this available in other health systems as well, or just those
Yeah,
two
we're in
locations?
over 40,000
Wow,
locations across the country in the private
it's huge.
sector.
Yeah.
Yeah. We impact over 750 million patient encounters per year.
Whoa, that's
Yeah.
so
And we're
helpful. Oh my
growing.
gosh,
Yeah.
that's exciting. My goodness. So PatientPoint, that sounds like a
Mhm.
really cool marketing and healthcare mixture
Combo. Right. Yeah. We also have
of awesome
employee
things.
facing screens too.
Okay.
So
Oh,
that's,
great.
yeah, that's a really useful tool to improve communication to staff, especially frontline staff that aren't accessing their email regularly and things like that. But then also to weave certain types of cultural changes that you're trying to make into the fabric of how you do business. So by meeting folks where they're at, giving them different digestible bites of tips and tricks or healthcare reminders for clinical staff, just,
It definitely goes a long way. It adds up one little thing at a time. certainly
Yes.
can make the world a better place and can make people healthier. So
Yeah, and
that's
hopefully
very
happier
exciting.
staff too,
Yeah.
because they
Oh
work
my
so
gosh.
hard for us, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, they need care too. So it sounds very exciting. What's next on the radar for you personally, professionally? What are you working on?
Well, my personal ultimate goal, because horses keep me stable, right?
Yeah, love that.
Um, is I'm gonna use this job. I'd like to pay off my any like student loan, credit card debt, anything that I've got off fully and completely by the time my kid graduates high school in 3.5 years, and move somewhere where I can have a cheaper cost of living than the Chicagoland area
Yeah,
and have a couple horses, live a simpler life, preferably no traffic. I want a Ford F-150. That's Caroline's dream.
I love that. Ford F-150. You're
Yeah,
talking about being able to spend more time with horses, which who doesn't want to spend time with horses? They're just amazing animals, and
they are.
those are all really awesome goals to have right now. And my gosh, it is expensive out here, isn't it? Where
Like
would you
just
go?
groceries. I'm like,
Yeah,
my kid's like, I'm hungry. And I'm like, didn't I feed you yesterday? Like, this is getting really expensive.
too expensive, too expensive. So
Do we
where are you
really
going
have
to
to
go?
feed you multiple times a day? This is too much.
Too much. What are some possible locations that you could find yourself in, do you think?
Well, I've got a lot of family in Kentucky, which, that's horse country.
That's not a
It
bad
would
idea.
be nice to be closer to them. A little bit milder winters, beautiful rolling hills. Love the culture there. I've lived there before. And so that would be really nice. But like the older I get, every winter that comes, I'm like, you know what? Maybe further south. Maybe we
Mm,
need to go further south.
Tennessee?
No, maybe even further south, like Central Florida or North Carolina, South
I like North Carolina.
Carolina.
Florida's great too. But yeah, I mean you'd be right by Mickey Mouse if you go central.
Well, even more important, I'd be right by the World Equestrian Center in Ocala.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's a very specific thing. That sounds great.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like the Vegas of horse world. There's this huge, grand Vegas style hotel, and then this enormous, gorgeous arena with like these stone walls around it, and they have um, attached to the hotel and there's like surrounding the area, there's stables, other different indoor arenas, and shops that are like really, really expensive, like you would see in Vegas, shops and good restaurants. There's even a ride up coffee bar, so you can like ride your horse up to a coffee bar and get a coffee.
Dude, that's incredible. I don't know. So do you have to bring your horse or is there a horse that you just get to you just rent a horse and you get to go around this place?
Oh no, people ship their horses from all over the world. They fly them in for the winter show season at the World Equestrian Center in Ocala. Yeah, it's a big deal, and they stable their horses out there. They've got, I think, over 200 acres, maybe more. I could be, misrepresenting it, of land that they turn the horses out that stay there. A lot of folks will rent a little hobby farm, where they've got maybe like a 6 or 8 stall barn with some turnout pastures and a house on the property right near the World Equestrian Center, keep their horses there, and then just trailer them over for the day to show, and then trailer them back home.
That's so cool. Do you have horses now?
I don't. The monthly board on a horse is more than my mortgage around here.
That's okay. It's another goal. It's another goal for later on.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all right.
So,
Very
You know,
cool.
I'd rather travel more right now, but
Yeah,
one day when I live in an area where it's more affordable to keep horses, then we'll do
you can travel anywhere, and I'm sure there will be a horse nearby.
that. Yeah, and I
So
mean, I like jumping and stuff. You know, like that's what I grew up doing, hunter jumper, going over the fences and everything. But I mean, anytime you get on a horse, even if it's, you know, a shaggy old nag that you're just doing a trail ride on, it's a good day. Anytime you
yeah,
get to get on a horse, it's a good day.
there's a school in Ohio. Is it Painesville College or Lake Erie College? Lake Erie College. They are known for their equestrian arts program. It's a big one over there. So, and I used to live in that area, so I always thought that was interesting that they were known for that. But it is a pretty big deal. So,
Okay, I'll have to look into it because my daughter's looking at colleges right now and planning. She's a freshman, but she's still
yeah.
looking at different colleges, and her number one requirement is that they have an equestrian team.
Oh,
So
Lake Erie College. It's only 6 hours from here, and if you end up in Kentucky, it's only probably 4 hours. So, depending on where
yeah,
you're at.
yeah, I will not be staying here.
All right. Well, we're at time. You've given me
Okay,
so much of your time today. I really appreciate it. I want to get that last question in though, because I know it was
sure.
something that you were thinking about. But what would you tell a younger version of yourself that when where what time frame would you go to, and what advice would you give yourself to a young Caroline who needed help?
Yeah, so we talked about this, you know, a little bit before, and I was really stuck when I was thinking about that question. And ultimately, the conclusion that I came to was like, the 20s are so important, right? Like, whatever choices you make in your 20s set you up for the rest of your life. And part of me wouldn't tell younger me anything because all of, you know, the mistakes that I made and the great choices I made and all like just all that combined led me to where I am now. And I like where I am now, like a lot.
That's important. Yeah, I'm glad that you do.
Yeah. It wasn't easy at all. You know, there was a lot of struggle. I mean, I gave you guys the highlights today, but there were some really, really, really dark times. And so, yeah, I mean, to some degree, I'm like, man, if I went and told younger me anything like that, then I wouldn't be here. But the advice that I give other younger folks that I come in contact with, especially if in their 20s, is just don't limit yourself, right? If you'd asked me when I was 25 years old and still active duty if I'd ever become a doctor, I would have laughed in your face. You know, like I didn't even want to go back to school then.
Yeah,
Like I have a bachelor's degree, it's fine, right?
you're good. Yeah,
But it's just so ultimately my advice would be don't limit yourself. Don't, you know, with any preconceived ideas of who you are or what you're going to be or where you want to be, you're going to change so much. And then also don't make choices that limit you from making other choices if you can avoid it. Try to just seek things that give you even more opportunity.
yeah.
That's
I
that's
love
the
that.
crux of
I
it.
needed
Just
I
don't
needed to
limit
hear that.
yourself.
I needed to hear that today. I think it's all about opening up your world of opportunities. So yeah, limits are no fun. They're no good. Don't let anybody tell
Well,
you
you know,
different.
their limits are always going to be there, right? The world's
Sure,
going to give you limits and different parameters under which you have to
sure.
try to still succeed. Why
Laws,
would you limit
regulations,
yourself?
right?
You know?
Don't tighten it more than it already is.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. Well, that's a
This
good.
was
That's a
so
good.
fun.
It was awesome having you, Caroline. I appreciate you being here, and I think this is just one of many because I know we've had conversations about some really cool ideas for the future. Some
Yeah.
also, I want to share that I would love to be able to have veterans who are interested in interviewing other veterans in this format. If there's veterans out there, if you're interested in doing this, or if anybody else is out there that wants to interview other veterans in this way, I'd be happy to show you how to do it and how to produce the podcast, how to edit the podcast, and put it out there. So reach
Well,
out to me
you're
if you,
doing something new too now, right? Like you
yeah.
have another super professional podcast that you're doing in a studio and everything, aren't you?
Well, we'll
You're
talk
kind of
about
a
that.
big deal now, Nick. You're kind of a big deal.
This is, it's just a transforming kind of thing. So, but we're going to end here, and
Okay.
I'm not going to let that cat out of the bag yet, but you and I will continue talking about it after I hit the stop button. So
All
hope,
right. Sounds good. A little
hope
teaser for
everybody,
the crowd.
yeah, little teaser. Hope everybody enjoyed this episode, and look forward to doing it again here very soon. Take care.
All right.
As we conclude this episode of Amplify Veterans, I want to emphasize the importance of supporting our veterans in times of need. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember, help is always available. The Veterans Crisis Line provides confidential support 24/7. Reach out to them by dialing 988 and then select option 1. You can also go to veteranscrisisline.net for more information.